The realm of video games, by and large, contain tales of brave and strong heroes performing extraordinary feats to save the world from an ever-looming threat, be it supernatural, extraterrestrial, or the evil within mankind. Not many games involve a plot where the boneheaded blunder of the protagonist single-handedly creates the mess that needs to literally be cleaned up. This is one of those stories. Tonic Trouble, a deep cut in the Nintendo 64 library.
Tonic Trouble was released by Ubisoft in 1999. Ubisoft, of course, is most famous for the inferior second release of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for the NES. Kidding! Ubisoft is known for a thing or two these days, but they were still a fairly young company in the 8 and 16-bit eras, with just a handful of releases. By the age of the N64, the company had increased their prominence in the industry, and they published a number of titles for the console, including a number of racers, Scars being the best, Buck Bumble, All-Star Tennis 99, Donald Duck Going Quackers, and most prominently, Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Tonic Trouble takes after the style of the aforementioned 3D adventure game, telling the story of Agent Ed. Yes, you heard that right. Agent Ed. While cleaning up the storage room aboard the mothership Albatross, Ed becomes parched and takes a swig from what looks like a hybrid of Slurm and Mountain Dew among the oddities on the shelves. The taste doesn't agree with Ed, and he drops the can on the floor, where soon after it enters Earth's atmosphere, causing all of the plant and animal life to become rabid, and making a Viking-looking dude crazy with maniacal laughter. The Leif Ericson wannabe is named Grog, and he's gone power-hungry from the effects of the can, seeking world domination like so many villains before him. It is Ed's mission to retrieve the container and return the planet back to normalcy. Ed is aided in his quest by the Doc and his daughter Susie, who along with the leader of the Resistance, Agent XYZ, provide our hero with helpful tips and weapon and skill upgrades as the game progresses. After a brief time descending race down a snow and ice covered hill, the first task on the agenda is to rescue the Doc, who's held captive by his own malfunctioning inventions in a lava-filled cave. Once this is accomplished, the main driving plot point is established. The Doc plans to build a machine that will catapult Ed into Grog's headquarters, but the henchmen of the drunk with power madman have stolen all of the parts needed for the device, thus the game becomes what I refer to as Fetch Quest 64. There are 6 items, 6 of each needing to be collected, which are located in certain areas of the surrounding environment. Once Ed has amassed all of the items from one section, the Doc provides Ed with a new skill or weapon that is necessary to progress to the next area. For example, after picking up the 6 springs from the Vegetables HQ, Ed is given the pea shooter. Hitting the targets responsible for closing the bridge to the North Plane is impossible without this new toy. The game uses the archetypal control scheme of the granddaddies of the platform genre, A jumps and B attacks, though Ed actually doesn't have a weapon to attack with until he rescues the Doc from his cave lair and takes it from the defeated Robo-Suitcase. The stick is not only handy in whacking enemies, but is also the means by which Ed opens doors and activates moving platforms, and is later upgraded to be used as a pogo stick to cross dangerous terrain. Like other games of this nature for the N64, Tonic Trouble makes use of the C buttons to control the camera, and maneuvering it to guide Ed through mazes and in performing tricky jumps can be rather unresponsive. This resulted in a number of occasions where I jumped to my death from misjudging the distance between platforms, but this really doesn't hold back the game that much. Pressing C up generally aligns the camera behind Ed, and this solves most of the issues with the camera. This game surprisingly has depth to it, and you have to solve a number of puzzles to progress to the next segment of the hapless agent's quest. I'm not ashamed to admit I got lost a number of times in my playthrough and had to resort to an online FAQ, as the game has an overworld map that shows every location around the Doc's cave, but none of the individual areas have maps showing the general layout of Ed's surroundings. I gave it my best shot though, and only caved in after wandering around aimlessly for over half an hour.
Speaking of getting lost, I wouldn't be talking about Tonic Trouble right now if I hadn't accidentally backtracked and discovered the trait that makes the game stick out from other similar N64 titles: its eccentric sense of humor.
Early in the game, when Agent XYZ is giving a how-to tutorial, I was instructed to fix the doc's popcorn machine. This may seem trivial, but ingesting one of these snacks is like Popeye downing a can of spinach. Ed bulks up and temporarily becomes Super Ed! In this state, he can break open bars and lift plugs, causing watery areas to drain and become accessible. This repair job enrages the corn people, causing them to rebel and attack poor Ed, who was just following orders. Defeating the grouchy grain causes it to fall into the lava below, and in the process become what it hates most. Due to the alignment of the camera after the brief cutscene and lack of map, I went the wrong way and had to go back through the purple warp. Surprisingly, the battle respawned. Only this time you're facing the brother of the Cobb that was vanquished previously, and he wants Ed's head for revenge!
I'll spare you the details, but I ended up accessing this battle again later and fought the uncle of the slain corn. It's little details like this that make me really like this game, even though it's far from great. Down with all popcorn is the reason that I'm talking about Tonic Trouble right now. And this is just a sampling of funny dialogue lines that are sprinkled throughout the game's cutscenes.
By this point, you've spent hours searching for the lost parts for the doc's catapult, and received very little in the way of thanks for risking life and limb. Surely the fetching must be over, right? Think again. To protect Ed from the poisonous influence of the can, there are 160 of a total 180 antidotes that need to be gathered. This task is just as important as the initial fetch quest, as without these antidotes, Ed cannot pursue the magic mushroom, the thief who took the last piggy bank moments before it was in our hero's possession. So think of this as a fetch quest within a fetch quest. With every possible item under the sun now given back to the doc, the necessary antidotes in tow, and Ed being powered up to his maximum, it's time for the final confrontation with Grog. The path to Grog really isn't that much of a challenge. There's a few puzzles that have to be solved and more 3D platforming. Really nothing different from what's already been done in the game time and again. I died a number of times, again due to camera issues and over or under jumping, but there are unlimited continues, with the incentive of a smooch from Susie as encouragement to finish the quest. The final battle with Grog takes place in 3 parts. In the first, Ed is chased by the villain in a giant mechanical suit, and he has to run away, leaping over lava and fence obstacles, or become a pulverized pancake. The second part is a Super Ed section, where he has to kick and punch boulders to knock Grog down to the third and final area, which requires use of the tricky-to-master flying technique. Ed has to shoot darts at 4 surrounding targets, in the process avoiding projectiles from the evil Viking. Ed gets to test his swing by returning the big baddie's boulders, stunning him, and leaving him open for pea-shooter attacks to his weak spot. Rinse and repeat 4 times, and Grog's history. Ed reclaims the can, and Grog renounces his evil ways, stating it stopped being fun, and blaming the pharmacist for all of the trouble. In the end, everything goes back to normal. Susie cozies up to Ed and states that Ed wasn't to blame after all, and that Mother Nature was just waiting for a spark to get back at us for mistreating her. I say bull to that. Ed is a screw-up, plain and simple. He dropped the can mutated everything. A plus B equals C, end of story.
Despite the hippie cop-out ending and some control issues, mainly involving the camera, Tonic Trouble isn't as bad as the critics make it out to be. Sure, there are tons of games better than it, even just on the Nintendo 64, but there are enough redeeming factors to recommend spending a few hours collecting trinkets and popping some corn. Admittedly, you pretty much do the same thing over and over throughout the game, and that may make it a bit one-dimensional, but that doesn't make it bad. The humorous tone provides relief from the monotony, plus a number of people who worked on this would later go on to bring us Rayman Origins, which I haven't played, but I've heard is a masterpiece of modern 2D platforming. The only thing that confounds me about this game is its name. I may be alone in this, but when I think of Tonic, I think of the 90s alternative band. Wouldn't Can Catastrophe be a more appropriate title? Anyway, Tonic Trouble is far from a great game, but it was a stepping stone for a studio that paved the way for future greatness. It's definitely worth playing, if only to experience the wackiness firsthand. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm heading to the front lines for the Corn Rebellion. Power to the chlorophyll! Not many games involve a plot where the Nintendo 64, but there are enough redeeming I said crap. I was going to say, kind of combined factors and qualities. That's funny. And it became crap. There's enough crap to recommend it. Why would you want to play it's crap? Okay, let's get back to this.